Hello everyone! Are you guys hearing me okay? Please let me know in the chat. Excited to get this going. A lot of stuff to talk about today. 2022 MLB predictions. Opening day is less than a week away. Super excited. How are y'all doing today? Alright, I see we got some people in the chat, so I'm going to get started. So, starting off, I think I'll just start in my division, the National League West. Y'all know I'm a Giants fan. Got the River Cats hat today. They're the AAA affiliate of the Giants. So yeah, I'll go from fifth place up to first place, and then I'll give you a recap of my predictions. So in fifth place, I think the obvious pick is going to be the Arizona Diamondbacks. They weren't very good last year, and they didn't get a lot better this year. They don't have a lot of talent to begin with, so it's hard to rebuild. So they're kind of in that middle ground right there. This offseason, they picked up Ian Kennedy, a decent relief pitcher, and Zach Davies, a decent starting pitcher. I mean, none of them are going to be aces, so they're just a couple of minor moves. Dylan Baseball World, how you doing? MLB Mix is 17 in the chat. Norman, welcome. So yeah, the Diamondbacks pretty much stayed the same. They didn't get a whole lot better, didn't get a whole lot worse, and in this tough division, I think they're going to be the fifth place team. All right, moving on up to fourth place, we got the Colorado Rockies, another interesting team. They've made some interesting moves. Not sure if they're trying to rebuild or what. At the deadline, they did not trade Trevor Story, which didn't make a whole lot of sense. We knew he was leaving Colorado. They could have got some trade value for him, and they didn't for some reason. So, yeah, Rockies fans, oof. And then this offseason, they picked up Chris Bryant. Bryant left my Giants to go to the Rockies. So we'll be seeing a lot of him this year in the National League West, as he is in our division. Interesting move. I don't know if they're going to try and build a franchise around him. It doesn't seem like they're rebuilding, even though they should. They don't have a lot of pitching, and they don't have a lot of bats now. We've seen Trevor Story leave now. We saw DJ LeMahieu leave. Nolan Arenado leave. So overall, not a lot of talent on that team. So they're going to have to be fourth place for me. Moving on up to third place. Yeah, I see you guys are agreeing. Movie Talk Podcast, no Rockies. MLB Mixer 17 says he agrees. Dylan Baseball World, thank you guys so much for coming. So in third place is going to be my San Francisco Giants. We got Jock Peterson this offseason, Carlos Rodon, and Alex Cobb. Two pretty decent starters to fill in the role of Kevin Gausman, who we lost to the Blue Jays this offseason. Yeah, I mean, overall, we do have a lot of money. I was expecting that we would sign a big free agent, but we didn't. We, I guess, kind of like to sort of make minor moves and build together a smaller team that can do damage like we did last year. I don't think anyone was expecting 107 games. I know I wasn't. Hopefully we can repeat that, but I just don't think that's going to happen, especially when we lost Buster Posey, who decided to retire. Posey has been my favorite player growing up. So yeah, Dylan Baseball World, you're being fair. Yes, hopefully I am. Movie Talk Podcast, does it look like the Giants are going to be as good this year as last year? I'm going to have to lean towards no. Last year was kind of a miracle, I think. I'm not saying that we can't win games again this year, but it's going to be very, very difficult to outrun the Dodgers again. So I'm going to go towards no. I think we got a little bit better this offseason, but we are still going to be a third-place team, maybe a shot at the wild card, depending on how our pitching goes, but I think this team is definitely going to be a pitching year for us. Moving on up to second place, we have the San Diego Padres. Padres were kind of a disappointment last year. They had a lot of talent, and things just didn't go through. Their front office has been amazing, making tons of moves last offseason, this offseason, really trying to build a winning squad. I think 2020 was their only winning season in the last decade, which is kind of bad. But I think they're going to be a really good team this year. I do know that Tatis is injured and won't be starting the season on the field. But today they traded for Sean Manaea, I believe. And then overall, I mean, they've got a really, really solid team. Yu Darvish, Blake Snell, Joe Musgrove, and then Manaea will probably fill in the 4th spot. Who knows what Mike Clevinger is going to bring to the table, but that pitching rotation has the potential to be really, really good. And I think their success this year is going to depend heavily on if Darvish and Snell can bounce back and be the players that they're expected to be. And then their bullpen has always been good. And then in the lineup, they've got Cronenworth, Machado. They signed Luke Voit this offseason. He's going to be a big bat. Brought him over from the Yankees. Dylan Baseball World, Tatis could be the next star, but he is not healthy. Yeah, true. I feel like Fernando Tatis, he's got to stay on the field. He's got to stay on the field if he wants the Padres to have a shot at the wild card this year. But I honestly think they do. And when he comes back to the field, he's going to be one of those big impact players. So yeah. MS Prod in the chat, how are you doing? So now in first place, I've got the Los Angeles Dodgers. I think that's a pretty obvious one. They did lose Max Scherzer this offseason, along with Corey Seager and Kenley Jansen. But they did sign Freddie Freeman. That was one of the biggest, most surprising moves of the offseason. At the beginning, I thought Freddie would just sign back with the Braves after winning a World Series. I think that's what everyone thought. And then, of course, they just have to make a big blockbuster move right there at the end. So Freeman definitely adds a lot of depth in their lineup. MLB Mix is 17. Yeah, this division was pretty easy to predict. Hopefully I'm right. Who knows? Maybe the Giants will win again. But yeah, their lineup is already so good. Max Muncy, Trey Turner, Justin Turner. Now you got Freddie Freeman. So I don't know where Max Muncy's going to play. Maybe he'll be the DH now that we have the universal DH. We'll see Chris Taylor or Gavin Lux at second, perhaps. Mookie Betts will be in right. Bellinger in center. They also made a trade recently, a couple of days ago. They traded away AJ Pollock for, who did they get? Craig Kimbrell. They got Craig Kimbrell in the bullpen. Their bullpen is already nasty. You added Kimbrell to a bullpen that already had Blake Trinan, Brusdar Gatterall. So, this team is just looking scary. And then in the pitching rotation, we're going to see Buehler at the 1 spot, Arias at the 2 spot. Maybe we'll see some David Price, Dustin May, Tony Gonsolin, all that in the mix. Who knows what's happening with Trevor Bauer? I don't expect him to return this season, but honestly, who knows? So yeah, I think their starting pitching went down a little bit from losing Scherzer, but honestly, they're fine. And then their hitting definitely got better, adding another MVP to the team, Freddie Freeman. So just to recap the National League West, we've got the Diamondbacks in 5th place, Rockies in 4th place, Giants in 3rd, Padres in 2nd, and the Los Angeles Dodgers in 1st. So let me know in the chat, do you agree or disagree? Dylan says they're going to win 118 games. Yeah, I don't know about that one. That might be a stretch, but they will be a damn good baseball team this year. All right. I guess we can move. Yeah, let's go National League first. So NL Central, moving it on Central. All right. So in 5th place, I've got the Pittsburgh Pirates. The Pirates were not a good team last year, and they just didn't make any moves. They didn't really make any moves. So they didn't get better or worse, but the main problem I have with them is they don't have any solid starting pitchers. And if you're going to be a good baseball team, you're just going to need to have the pitching. especially when you don't have the offense to really compete. I mean, the Central isn't a crazy strong division to begin with, but the Pirates are going to be 5th place for sure. Notable bats, they've got Brian Hayes and Brian Reynolds. Super fired up about those two, but outside of those two, they don't really have a lot of talent. I think this is a pretty easy one, not much else to say. In 4th place, I'm going to go with the Chicago Cubs. The Cubs last year, they got into the rebuilding stage just like they should have. They dealt Kimbrel, Bryant, Rizzo, and Javi Baez, of course. Yeah, I think those were all good moves. And then this offseason, they added Marcus Stroman, Wade Miley, and Drew Smyly to their pitching rotation. Those are 3 actually pretty good starters. And then along with Kyle Hendricks, who's already there, I feel like the Cubs' starting rotation is not going to be bad this year. They definitely have some potential to grow, but they're pretty solid. So their pitching this offseason got a lot better. Notable bats, I mean, they've got a really young team, kind of inexperienced. So I think this is going to be a growth year for them for sure. But I think they're stepping in the right direction. They've got Ian Happ, Patrick Wisdom, Nico Horner. So we'll see how the offense does, but I am excited about the Cubs pitching. All right. MLB Mixes 17 has the Reds 4th and the Cubs 3rd. Well, we're going to talk about the Reds right now because I've got the Reds at 3rd. Yeah, the Reds, I mean, they're still a decent baseball team, but they took a huge step back. They lost Jesse Winker, Suarez, Nick Castellanos, Sonny Gray, and Wade Miley. So those are some huge losses. They basically lost the middle producers in their lineup, and they lost a couple of their stronger starting pitchers. So the Reds are definitely going down. So who knows? Maybe the Cubs will be better than the Reds. But for now, I've got the Reds going in 3rd. Notable bats, Jonathan India. I think he won Rookie of the Year. Super fired up about that. And then, of course, Joey Votto. We'll see how long Joey Votto stays. Some people like to say he's washed and whatever, but I think he had a pretty good year last year. So we'll see how long he sticks around. But yeah, the Reds, I don't see them as playoff contenders whatsoever, but I do think that they're going to be a mid-level baseball team. All right, moving on to 2nd. So this is a tough one between the Brewers and the Cardinals. I went with the St. Louis Cardinals at 2nd place. They didn't make any major moves this offseason, but they were a good team last year. They've got Nolan Arenado, Paul Goldschmidt, Harrison Bader, O'Neill. So they've got some bats for sure. The real question is going to be how well can their starting pitchers perform. So they've got Adam Wainwright. He did a good job last year. He pitched that wild card game. He is getting older, so we will see how quickly he falls off. Steven Matz is a decent second behind him, and then Jack Flaherty. He had a good rookie season, and he's been dealing with injuries, kind of ups and downs. So if Jack Flaherty can get back to what we know he can be, maybe the Cardinals have a shot at the division. But for now, I've got them in 2nd place. So let me know in the chat so far if you agree or disagree. And yeah. So 1st place for the NL Central, I've got the Milwaukee Brewers. Along with the Cardinals, they didn't make any major moves, already a good team. And the reason I have them winning this division is definitely their pitching. Pitching for sure. The Brewers are a pitching team. They've got Corbin Burns, Brandon Woodruff, Freddie Peralta. That's a 3-headed monster. And then in the bullpen, they've got Devin Williams, Josh Hader. So, I mean, that's already going to be enough to basically put them at the number 1 spot. That rotation is completely stacked. I agree with you. MLB Mixes 17. And then I don't know how good Christian Yelich is going to be this year. He had an off year, 2020 and 2021. We've seen him play at that MVP level. So if Christian Yelich can get back to hitting, maybe that team has the potential to contest for a World Series. Who knows? But overall, the NL Central, it's an okay division, not overly strong. So to recap, I've got the Pirates in 5th, Cubs in 4th, Reds in 3rd, Cardinals in 2nd, and Milwaukee Brewers at 1st place. All right. So now let's move it on east. So in the National League East, 5th place, I've got the Washington Nationals. The Nationals got rid of Scherzer and Trey Turner last year, and they're definitely in that rebuilding stage. They still have Juan Soto in their lineup. Soto is like an MVP caliber player. We all know what he can do at the plate. Arguably one of the best hitters in the game right now. But outside of that, not much else in the lineup. They did pick up Nelson Cruz this offseason. I mean, Nelson Cruz just seems to get better with age. So we'll see how good he does this season. I'm sure he'll hit a lot of home runs. He'll definitely be their DH. Now that the National League has a DH, I think that gives like a lot of flexibility for what they can do with Nelson Cruz. Other than that, I mean, Josh Bell maybe is their other big bat. I'd like to see him have a higher on base percentage, maybe definitely more of a power hitter. And then for starting pitching, I mean, the only pitcher I've got written down here is Patrick Corbin. Corbin had a rough year last year, but we've seen him be really good in the past. Maybe Steven Strasburg can get on board, but I'm kind of skeptical about that because he is an injury machine, just can't stay on the field. So, I mean, who knows about Steven Strasburg, but right now, not a whole lot to talk about with the Nationals. Definitely going to be 5th place for me. In 4th place, I've got the Miami Marlins. The Marlins picked up Jorge Soler. He was the World Series MVP for the Braves last October. And they got Joey Wendell from the Rays. So 2 strong pickups. I think they're going to be big. They're both going to be like big parts in the lineup. However, I just don't really see their lineup all that dangerous right now. And they definitely have a very tough division. So for those reasons, I have them in 4th. Starting pitching isn't bad. Sandy Alcantara and Pablo Lopez, 2 pretty good pitchers. And they've got Jesus Aguilar and Jazz Chisholm Jr. Jazz was a rookie last year. He had a pretty good season, so I'm excited to see what he can do this year. So I think their lineup definitely got better this offseason. Their pitching pretty much stayed the same. So I don't think they're at the level yet where they can contend for a division, but I think they're going to be an okay baseball team. All right. In 3rd place, I've got the Philadelphia Phillies. Phillies didn't do much this offseason. They did pick up Nick Castellanos. So I think their lineup right now just looks really good. They've got Castellanos, Bryce Harper. That's going to be a great middle of the order, along with JT Realmuto, Rhys Hoskins. So this is definitely going to be a hitting team, in my opinion. A lot of RBIs, a lot of runs batted in. Starting pitching, they've got Zach Wheeler and Austin Nola. 2 good arms. So yeah, I think the Phillies are going to be pretty good. We saw Bryce Harper finally play at the MVP level that they paid for him. So we'd like to see another season out of him like that one. Maybe they could contend for a wild card at best, but I don't see them contending for the division right now because the 2 teams ahead of them are looking really scary this year. All right, tough. Mets or Braves? Actually, let me hear in the chat. What do you guys think? Mets or Braves? I'll tell you what I think after, but I think this is going to stir some fire in the hot stove. What do you guys think in the chat? Mets or Braves? All right, Dylan, Baseball World says Braves. Movie Talk Podcast says Mets. All right. I actually agree with Movie Talk Podcast, and I will explain why. But I've got the Mets going over the Braves. So in 2nd place, I've got the Braves, as I said. So let's go over that. They lost Freddie Freeman this offseason and picked up Matt Olson. So that's pretty much a straight substitution right there. Their lineup is really good. Really, really good. Ozzy Albies, Adam Duvall, Eddie Rosario, and then Ronald Acuna Jr. When he can get healthy and when he can get on the field, he's going to be a huge difference maker. That starting pitching rotation is looking pretty good. Max Fried, Charlie Morton, Ian Anderson. This is a really, really solid team. I would not be surprised if they won the division, but I do think they're going to get second place this year because the New York Mets have made some crazy, crazy moves this offseason. I mean, the Mets and Padres just make the biggest splashes in the offseason. They added Max Scherzer and Chris Bassett to their pitching rotation. So, I mean, DeGrom, Scherzer, Bassett, that's going to be an insane pitching staff. And then they added Starling Marte, Eduardo Escobar, Mark Canha, already big bats to their lineup. They've already got Pete Alonso, Jeff McNeil, Francisco Lindor. They had the potential to be really good last year, and we just didn't see that from their top guys, but they have the potential to be. We've seen Jeff McNeil be a 300 hitter. We've seen Lindor perform like the best shortstop in the league. We've seen Pete Alonso hit 50 bombs. And I think that this offseason, their lineup and their pitching rotation got significantly better. Definitely took a huge step forward, and I would like to see the Mets go out and win the division over the Braves this year. Movie Talk Podcast says, let's go. Yes. All right, American League time. I'm going to start off in the American League West, and we'll head on east. All right. Let me know in the chat what you guys think of the predictions so far and who you guys have for the American League West. All right. Okay, so in fifth place, I've got the Oakland Athletics. I think that's a pretty obvious one. They lost a lot of players this offseason, and I think now they're just going to rebuild. They have a very young and inexperienced team. They're going to give their prospects a chance. This offseason, they lost Chris Bassett, Starling Marte, Mark Canha, Matt Olson, and Matt Chapman. So those are 5 big names right there. And then today, they traded away Sean Manaea. So, yeah, they definitely took a huge step back. They're not going to be a good team this year. They did get Pache from the Braves in the Olsen deal. So we'll see what he can do there. But outside of that, not really a lot to say about their lineup or their pitching rotation. Yep, I've got the A's in 5th place. Let me know if you guys agree or not. MLB Mixer 17 says A's 5th for sure. Movie Talk Podcast says 4th. Yeah, they're going to be in the bottom of that division for sure. All right. In 4th place, I've got the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. So Angels, they've got talent. I mean, I don't think that's the problem. They've got Shohei Ohtani, Mike Trout, arguably the first and second best player in the game. They've got Anthony Rendon. If Rendon can perform at the MVP level he's done in the past, I think they could be a good team. So far, he hasn't done well for the Angels in 2020 or 21. He's kind of been a bust, so we'd like to see him bounce back. I think everyone's kind of forgot about him, but he definitely has something to prove this year, and they've got Jared Walsh, Joe Adele. So I think their lineup is okay. I'd like to see them add pitching. Pitching has always been their problem. You know, they've got Griffin Canning, not really an ace. I mean, they had Dylan Bundy in 2020, I believe. I mean, he's not really an ace either, so they definitely just need pitching. And I feel like the main problem with the Angels is not the talent. It's the front office. The front office just can't make any good moves and get the pieces that they need, and they never have a winning season. always a huge disappointment every year. When they go out and spend, it's not a smart move. And the analogy, it's like the whole DC franchise, right? Like you've got good characters, good actors, and then you just have bad leadership. And then the movies just don't do well. And I feel like that's the story of the Angels. That's just the story of the Angels. They're like the DC franchise. Good talent, bad leadership. All right. In Movie Talk Podcast, it seems like the Angels should be better than they are. I completely agree. All right. In third place, I've got the Texas Rangers. They made a couple big moves. They put on Corey Seager and Marcus Semien for their middle infielders. So those were obviously the big moves of the offseason. Two amazing bats, long-term contracts, a lot of money they went out spending this year, and I think it's honestly good. We saw Adolis Garcia hit a lot of home runs last year. Their starting pitching isn't great. John Gray, Dane Dunning. I mean, those are two decent arms, but, they're not going to be anything that special this year, but I think their lineup did get a lot better. MLB Mixer says, I have the Mariners in third. Yeah, that's a decent take. I've got them in second, and we'll go over that later. Cooper Wong, how's it going? We went over the Giants. I had them third in the NL West. All right, on to second place in the AL West. I've got the Seattle Mariners. The Mariners were actually a huge surprise last year. They won 90 games, which nobody was expecting, and their lineup and their pitching, I think, improved a lot this offseason. They added Jesse Winker and Suarez from the Rays. And then they picked up Robbie Ray, the Cy Young Award winner of 2021. So big moves for the Mariners. I don't see why they can't do it again. I mean, 90 wins. They've got a Cy Young pitcher now, so maybe that adds a few more. Who knows? But I think the Mariners are going to be maybe a wild card team. But that's going to be tough in the American League because those American League East teams are also going to be going for that. But Mariners have some potential to be good. All right. And in first place, I've got the Houston Astros. Yep, everybody hates the Astros, and it pains me to say this, but they are still a really good team, even though they lost Carlos Correa. I mean, their rotation, they've still got Verlander, Valdez, Garcia, Urquidy. That's a really solid rotation. And then the bats, they still have Alex Bregman at third. They've got Altuve at first, Gurriel. They've got Yordan Alvarez. They've got Cole Tucker. So, I mean, that's still a scary team. And I think that although the Mariners are getting a little bit better, the Astros are still the clear number one team for the American League West. All right, so just to recap really quickly, I have the A's in fifth place, the Angels in fourth, Rangers in third, Mariners in second, and the Houston Astros in first place. Let me know in the chat if you agree or disagree. And yeah, let's move on. So for the Astros have been good for a really long time, right? Yes, they have. They won World Series in 2017. They made it to the World Series and lost in 2019, and they made it to the playoffs, I think, the last 6 years or maybe 5. Dylan Baseball World says Angels may do worse. Maybe. I would expect them to do more of the same. Maybe that's a little bit better, maybe a little bit worse. I don't think anything crazy is going to happen. Maybe if Ohtani, Trout, and Rendon all pop off, maybe they do significantly better. But yeah, I don't see them outside of the third to fourth place range in the West. All right, American League Central in fifth place. I have the Kansas City Royals. The Royals added Zach Greinke this offseason. Greinke is getting older, so obviously that's not going to be a long-term thing. However, Greinke has been really good, and I think although he's gotten a lot older and he's been in the league for a very long time, he is still definitely an effective pitcher. Outside of that, they basically have no pitching. Notable bats: Whit Merrifield and Salvador Perez. Perez had a crazy monster season last year, hit a lot of home runs. And then everyone's excited to see a new prospect, Bobby Witt Jr. I think he'll make the major league team this year, so I'm excited to see how good he does. I don't think they necessarily got better or worse this year, but they're definitely not a good team, so I've got the Royals in 5th place. In 4th place, I've got the Detroit Tigers. I think this is a pretty fair place for the Tigers. They added Javier Baez to their lineup, so that was one of the biggest moves of the offseason. But besides that, they don't have a lot of bats. Akil Baddoo is pretty good, but besides them two, I don't really see this team going very far. And then their pitching, they just don't have the starting pitching to really compete against the White Sox. They've got Casey Mize, Eduardo Rodriguez. So although they did add Javier Baez, I feel like that's basically the only thing that they did. And Javi's not going to really make that one move is not really going to make them a good team per se. So I've got them in 4th place. In 3rd place, the new name, the Cleveland Guardians, formerly known as the Cleveland Indians. The Indians did not really make any significant moves this offseason, but I do think that they're still a pretty good team. They've always been a pitching team. They've got Shane Bieber, Zach Plesac, so that's a great 1-2 combo. Bats, Jose Ramirez, Franmil Reyes. So yeah, I mean they're not like that good, but they're not bad either. They're just kind of like in the middle. So I've got them at 3rd place. MLB Mixer 17 says, I think the Tigers will be 2nd and just miss the wild card. Yeah, I don't know about that one. I mean, see, they're going to be competing with, well, from the West, they'll be competing with the Mariners. From the East, they're going to be competing with either the Rays, Yankees, Red Sox, Blue Jays. So I don't see the Tigers really competing for a wild card. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe. In 2nd place, I've got the Minnesota Twins. Let's see. The Twins added Carlos Correa, another big move this offseason, and they added Gary Sanchez. I'd like to see Gary Sanchez swing the bat like he did earlier in his career. He was one of the better offensive catchers, and he kind of fell off, so I'd like to see him bounce back. And then the bats have got Byron Buxton, Jorge Polanco, so that's a pretty good lineup. And then they added Sonny Gray this offseason, a great pitcher. They've got Dylan Bundy in the middle of the rotation. So I think that the Twins are going to be a 2nd place team this year. The American League Central is not a very strong division at all. So I expect the Twins to win. Most of the games that they play like within the division. Cooper Wong asks, why did the Indians become the Guardians? I think it's one of those name change things where some people were offended by the name Indians. Yes, it was the Cleveland Indians, and now it is the Cleveland Guardians. They changed their logo a few years back. First, they had it as their mascot, which was like the head of an Indian, and then they changed it to like the red letter C for Cleveland, and now they changed their name. But yeah, it's all interesting stuff. And then in 1st place, I think this is pretty clear. The Chicago White Sox, they're going to be the 1st place team in the Central. I think they're going to clinch early and go to the playoffs just like they did last year. They didn't really make that many moves, but again, it's not like they really had to. Pitching rotation, Lucas Giolito, Lance Lynn, Dylan Cease, Dallas Keuchel. So that's a scary pitching rotation already. And then the bats, Tim Anderson, Yohan Moncada, Jose Abreu, and Luis Robert. So those are some really huge names right there. They did lose out on Carlos Rodon, who went to my San Francisco Giants. But yeah, I think they're the clear winners of this division. Guys, let me know what you think in the chat below. Do you think I got it right for this division? AL Central, overall not a strong division. I think the White Sox are clearly in 1st. But yeah, I mean, the bottom 3 teams are kind of interchangeable. So let me know what you guys think. So to run through my picks, I've got Royals in 5th, Tigers in 4th, Guardians in 3rd, Twins in 2nd, and White Sox in 4th. Dylan Baseball World says, yes, I think so. Thank you, Dylan. All right, and finally, moving on to the American League East. Live sporting events in the chat. What's going on? MLB Mixes 17 says the White Sox will be first. I agree. All right, American League East. I think this has got to be like the hardest prediction I have ever made, because outside of the Orioles, the Blue Jays, Red Sox, Rays, and Yankees are like all interchangeable. Like it could go any way this offseason, and I'm actually really excited to see the kind of division race and rivalries that are going to be going on. All those teams made some crazy moves this offseason. The lineups have just gotten better and better, and yeah, they're going to be all neck to neck, man. All neck to neck. All right, so in 5th place, no surprise here. It's the Baltimore Orioles, clearly a 5th place team. They didn't do anything this offseason, really, so they didn't get better or worse, but again, they were already a bad team. So, and especially in this division, they're definitely going to be a 5th place team. Bats, Cedric Mullins. Cedric Mullins had a great season last year, and I expect to see him do it again this year. He's a great player. Mountcastle, Mancini. I think those are going to be the other 2 names. Maybe average. I'd say they have an average lineup, average to below average. And then starting pitching, outside of John Means, I don't think they have anybody really solid in starting pitching. Nobody notable in the bullpen, so they basically have no pitching and like a few. They have like an average to below average lineup and almost little to no pitching. So I think they're the clear 5th place team. All right, in 4th place, I know this is going to upset a lot of people because I do have some Yankees fans here, but I've actually got the Yankees in 4th place this year, and I will tell you why. All right, this is going to be a big one. So, the New York Yankees, they picked up Josh Donaldson this offseason. They were supposed to get a shortstop. They were supposed to get either Carlos Correa and Trevor Story, but they didn't. So yeah, outside of Donaldson, not many moves for the New York Yankees. And then starting pitching. The main reason I have them in 4th place is the starting pitching. The teams that I ranked ahead of them just have better. They just have better pitching, and that's all there is to it. I mean, they have Garrett Cole. Garrett Cole is definitely a top 5 starting pitcher in the game, although we did see him struggle a little bit last year and in that playoff game. And then Luis Severino is a big question mark this season. He hasn't really found the groove at all the last few years. He's been like on and off the injured list, and I don't see him really coming back and being like an ace right away. And I think that's what the Yankees need, considering that they have to face a lot of really, really tough lineups in this division. So, I mean, they've got a really good lineup. Anthony Rizzo, Aaron Judge, Joey Gallo, Giancarlo Stanton, and now Josh Donaldson. So I feel like that's going to be a lot of runs, a lot of power. But in order to compete in this division with the other strong lineups, I think you're going to need a lot better starting pitching. And so for those reasons, I have the Yankees in 4th. Again, I may not be right? Like you guys might disagree because this division is just crazy this year, but that's my prediction. And in 3rd place, I've got the Tampa Bay Rays. The Rays, I feel like are going to do better than the Yankees. They have the last 2 years, despite like barely having any money and like making like minor moves. They just outperform. They just outperform the Yankees. They continue to do so, and I don't see why they aren't this year. They picked up Corey Kluber to add to their rotation. Besides that, they didn't make any moves, so I don't think they've got a lot better or a lot worse, but they are a very, very good team. That bats, they've got Wander Franco. Really excited to see what he can do in a full 162-game season. He's going to be a stud. Randy Arozarena, we already know what he can do. Rookie of the Year. So I expect those two are going to be the main guys in that lineup. And then starting pitching, yeah, it's good. And then their bullpen is also good. So I think they have better pitching than the Yankees. Not so much. They might not have like all the big names that the Yankees have, but they just continue to surprise everyone year in and year out. So I think that the Rays are going to be third place this year. Again, in another division, maybe they're a first place team, but in this division, I think they're going to be like a middle to lower team. Maybe compete for a wild card spot. All right, let me know what you guys think in the chat below. MLB Mixes 17 says the Red Sox will be fourth. I don't agree with that one, although maybe, kind of depends. All right, in second place, I've got the Boston Red Sox. The Red Sox are definitely a hitting team, and once I read this lineup, it will make sense. They added Trevor Story this year to a lineup that already had Rafael Devers, Xander Bogaerts, JD Martinez, and Alex Verdugo, Kike Hernandez. That is going to be an insane lineup. We all saw what they did in the playoffs last year. And they arguably have one of the best starting lineups in the game right now. And then starting pitching Nathan Eovaldi, he's going to be the man for them. I'd say they have a decent rotation after that, but I think the main thing is just the hitting, right? Like their lineup is just so good that they're just going to have to win games that way. So I've got the Red Sox in second. I know this is kind of ambitious for them, but I think that they can do it, especially with the bats that they had. We'd like to see Trevor Story be like a top shortstop like we saw him a couple years ago. I think he will. And yeah, I've got the Red Sox in second. And finally, in first, this is a very, very hot take, but I've got the Toronto Blue Jays winning the American League East just by a little bit. Blue Jays went out and got Matt Chapman this year. They lost Marcus Semien and they got Kevin Gausman, but their pitching improved a lot. Like a couple years ago, they had like an insane lineup, but then they had no pitching, so then they couldn't compete with the Rays and the Yankees. But now they've definitely got the pitching to compete in this division, especially when the Red Sox and the Yankees have like mid rotations. So the Blue Jays have Barrios, Gausman, Ryu, Manoah, and Kikuchi. So I think that's going to be a really, really solid rotation. And then obviously they're still a hitting team. They've got Vlad Jr., Bo Bichette, George Springer, Teoscar Hernandez, and then they just got Matt Chapman. So that's going to be a crazy, crazy lineup. Movie Talk Podcast says, were they good last year? They missed the playoffs by like one game last year, or maybe two. But yeah, they were pretty darn good last year. I think the main reason they didn't make it is just the division that they're in is just so tough. But their lineup is just so good, and their pitching got so much better that I think that they're going to be a number one team this year. I mean, their rotation is arguably the best in this division. And their lineup maybe stacked against the Red Sox and the Yankees, it's close. It's close. All three of those teams have monster lineups, but the pitching rotation is clearly better than the Red Sox and Yankees, and I think that's why it puts them ahead in the American League East. MLB Mixes 17 says the Blue Jays will win the American League. Yeah, I can definitely see that happening. Let's say they win the division, right? And then they face off against the White Sox. White Sox are a good team, but they haven't had success in the postseason yet. And I think that the Blue Jays might be able to pull through there. They might run into the Astros at some point, but yeah, they could definitely make it to the World Series as the American League team. All right, so those are my predictions for 2022. Glad to see y'all back again this year. So tell me in the chat below, do you agree, disagree? And now I guess we can open it up to live Q&A. So any hot baseball takes that you have, I'm listening. And yeah. Dylan's Baseball World says it's sad for me to say. Yeah, I think Dylan's a Yankees fan, so that would make sense. Movie Talk Podcast says, what's the weakest and strongest division this year? So, strongest division we just went over. That's going to be the American League East. Blue Jays, Red Sox, Rays, and Yankees. They on paper they look like first place teams. However, they are all in the same division, so it's going to be a crazy, crazy race this year. Weakest division is going to be the American League Central. The White Sox are an extremely good team. The Twins are okay. Outside of that, the Guardians, Tigers, and Royals, all three of them are bad teams. So that's definitely the weakest in the division. Yeah, I've got the White Sox. I've got the White Sox pulling far ahead very early on and just going all the way through. I don't think that should be a problem for them. Movie Talk Podcast again says, which teams have made the smartest and dumbest moves during the offseason? Off-season moves, fun. It's gonna be the New York Mets making the smartest. It's got to be the New York Mets. They added so much to their pitching. Max Scherzer behind Jacob deGrom. Scherzer's arguably the best pitcher of the generation. And then you've got the best pitcher in baseball currently, Jacob deGrom. So that's already like a 1-2 combo right there. And then their lineup just has so much potential. They added Marte, Escobar, and Canna. And then they already had McNeil and Lindor and Alonso. So, I mean, that lineup and that pitching, I think they're just going to be a really good team this year. Dumbest moves. I don't know. I mean, there's definitely teams like the A's or the Reds who lost a lot. I wouldn't call them dumb because they're rebuilding. So I don't know about dumbest moves. But Mets are definitely number one for smartest moves this offseason. Yeah, good question. All right, anybody else in the chat? Dylan's Baseball World, what do you think? MLB Mix is 17. Any hot takes? Live sporting events, let me know if you're still here. Dylan's Baseball World says it's sad to say Blue Jays are better. Yep, I mean, yeah, they are. They are. And that's why I got them at number one. I mean, they improved significantly in the pitching side. That's like their biggest jump. And then they already had a really, really good lineup. Plus Matt Chapman, right? One of the best defensive third basemen in the game. And yeah, they got a lot better. MLB Mixes 17 with the hot take, Dodgers over Jays in the World Series. The Dodgers are the Dodgers are probably like the best team right now, like in power rankings. They have the playoff experience. They're going to win the NL West. They're going to probably go through the playoffs. So I think the teams that they're going to probably roll through the Cardinals or Brewers, whoever wins the Central, right? Because that's not a very strong division. For them, it's going to be whoever wins the East is going to make the Dodgers, is going to like influence the Dodgers, right? So like we saw them lose to the Braves this time. I don't think that's going to happen again, but who knows? So Mets or Braves versus Dodgers in the NLCS. And yeah, I could see the Dodgers going to the World Series. As a Giants fan, kind of pains me to say that, but yep, I could see that happening. Then Blue Jays, we already talked about how they could make it. So yeah, I see that happening. That's a fair take. Movie Talk Podcast again says, about the channel, are there more mixes coming up, or what new content are you planning that you want to announce? Yeah, just trying to find time. Just trying to find time to make more mixes. I've got a couple ready that I might upload soon. Hoping to hit that 1,000 subscribers soon. So if you guys could maybe, tell your friends, family about it, that would be great. Dodgers have been good for so long. Yes, they have. Unfortunately, they have. 2013, they won the division every single year, except for last year when we beat them by 1 game. That was a crazy race, but they have been really, really good. MLB Mix of 17, Soto and Vlad, MVPs. That, again, is a fair take. Especially with Tatis injured to start the season, I think Soto has a very good chance at getting MVP. He might have to compete with his buddy Trey Turner, but yeah, Soto hits for average. He's got power, RBIs. The guy does it all at the plate. And then Vlad Jr., I think was maybe the best offensive player last year. And if it weren't for Shohei Ohtani, I think that Vlad would have won it. I think he was second place and Simeon was third. But yeah, I can see that happening for sure. Movie Talk Podcast is almost to 1,000. Yes, that's right. I think, let's see, 3 years of this, almost to 1,000. Do you have any predictions for Cy Young winners and or MVPs? MVPs, I think I might just agree with MLB Mix of 17 here. Vlad and Soto for MVPs. That, seems like it could happen. Cy Young winners, at the moment, Jacob deGrom has been having some arm injuries. Maybe Walker Buehler from the Dodgers might pull one. Who knows? MLB Mix of 17 says Soto is the best hitter in MLB. I have heard that take. Before. I don't know if I would declare him the best, but he's definitely one of the best, I must say. Mike Trout still exists, so I'd like to see what Mike Trout can do this season. Hopefully he can stay healthy this season. But, Soto is a monster up there at the plate. All right, any more hot takes? Talking baseball here on a Sunday afternoon. Let's see. MLB Mixer 17 says, I've been saying it since before the 2020 season, so I'm sticking with it. That's been a fair take all the way through. Definitely made his case for MVP, and I think he will win it this year. All right. Anybody else with any hot takes or questions about anything? Got a few more minutes here. Movie Talk Podcast says Tanner Scott to the Marlins. I do not know who that is. But yeah, maybe that's a small move. Who knows? All right, well, I think... Oh, rumored. Okay, rumored. That makes sense. All right, well, I think that's all for today's video. I'll run through the predictions one more time, I guess. NL West, I've got Dodgers, Padres, Giants, Rockies, Diamondbacks. In the Central, I've got Brewers, Cardinals, Cubs, Reds, Pirates. In the NL East, I've got Mets, Braves, Phillies, Marlins, Nationals. In the American League West, I've got Astros, Mariners, Rangers, Angels, and then A's. In the Central, I've got White Sox, Twins, Guardians, Tigers, Royals. And then the tough one, American League East, I've got Blue Jays, Red Sox, Rays, Yankees, and then Orioles. All right. Hope to see y'all on the channel soon. I'll be coming up with uploads. Thank you all so much for coming. Thanks for joining this year, and I'll see y'all next year with the 2023 predictions. Bye.